xCloud, Stadia, and now we've got Luna. We knew it was coming, and now it is here. Luna is the new game streaming service from Amazon, and well, they're opening up the doors today so you can actually sign up to potentially be able to access the, well, early access. There's a lot of details here, and we're going to roll the video of the announcement so you can get a little better understanding while I talk through some of the finer bits of information. So the service is obviously called Luna, and this is coming from Amazon. It's going to be streamed from AWS. Now, it is going to cost $5.99 a month initially, so that is an initial pricing. Amazon is very much playing up the fact that the price is more than likely going to increase. Now, the crucial here is that it's going to have more than 100 games at launch. So that's a pretty significant deal. And much like xCloud and Stadia, you're going to be able to play this thing just about everywhere. They're officially saying PC, Mac, Fire TV, iOS, which we'll get to in a minute, and Android, but that's going to be coming later. And what's interesting here is that it's going to work on iOS initially before Android, because we all know that xCloud works on Android, but it doesn't work on iOS. And what it looks like they're doing is that you actually are going to be accessing it from a web browser. So that is their initial workaround. And I think they're going to try to play up that strength that, hey, Stadia and xCloud don't work on iOS, but here you go, Luna does. And so that's going to be, I don't know, potentially their pitch. There's going to be a new controller coming, which you'll see here in a little bit in this video, and it's going to cost $49.99. And much like Stadia, it's going to connect directly to the internet. So much like Stadia connects directly to Google Cloud, this controller will connect directly via your Wi-Fi to AWS to reduce the latency just a little bit. It will work over Bluetooth, USB, and Bluetooth, if I could say that correctly, for offline potential, but I'm not quite sure how that works with its streaming service, but whatever. But you can also use an Xbox and PS controller if you don't want to pay for the controller that you are there seeing on your screen. So this is a pretty big deal for many obvious reasons. The other thing too, there's going to be extremely heavy Twitch integration. No big surprise there. Twitch, if you're not familiar, although if you're watching this, you probably are, is Amazon's massive online place where people go to watch gaming. There's also going to be a channels feature. If you're familiar with like the Apple TV dashboard, or really any modern TV dashboard where there's little boxes, there's going to be channels, and Ubisoft is going to be one of the first ones where you can go there and learn about their new games and play their games on day one, provided they, are putting it on that service and everything else like that. Now, it is only in the US, and it's only on the continental US. So if you're in Hawaii or Alaska, you're not getting in on this, at least initially. And then they're very much intentionally launching this at a key time. Right now, we all know that this week, PS5 and the Series X and S all went up for pre-order. And now Amazon's like, hey, we want our name in there as well for next generation gaming. And this is going to be, this is a good thing, but it's going to be interesting to see how this stacks up, because clearly at $5.99, that is undercutting the offering that Microsoft is doing with Game Pass Ultimate that includes cloud gaming. Now, we all know that Microsoft isn't doing a standalone like cloud gaming. Well, they could do it as standalone, but it's part of a package deal where you also have like consoles and Xbox Live and Game Pass and all that stuff into one thing, and then you can get cloud streaming as well. This is much more like Stadia, where Stadia is you pay for the subscription, you can play it online, and that's realistically about it. So this is going to be... I think Stadia is going to be the bigger target here. I think if you want a console, you're going to go buy a console. This is Stadia. This is more of those two services going head to head, while Microsoft is saying, hey, look, we can do this too, but it's bundled into this other stuff, and bada bing, bada boom, if you want it, that path. But this is a good thing for the gaming industry. This is another major player, and considering how big of a footprint Amazon has, Amazon is massive, and we all know that. And we all know how big Twitch is. And I think that is going to be their primary leverage here, is that all those people playing games on Twitch will soon be able to fire up Luna. When I say Lumia, you're going to be able to fire up Luna and jump right in. Now, Google potentially has this advantage also on YouTube, but we don't see this nearly as much as I thought we would on the Google side, right? They have massive library of people playing games, watching game content on Google, but you don't see, at least I don't see it on mine. Maybe I'm getting the wrong ad targeting, which maybe is actually the right ad targeting, because I know I'm not going to do it, even though I've already paid for it once, because here's my Stadia controller right here. Anyways, Twitch has a very good in with this. The question is going to be coming, how does their latency in their actual gaming stack up to what Microsoft has built? And let's not forget that Microsoft acquired some IP with the Bethesda acquisition here. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. But how does the latency stack up compared to what Google has, to what Microsoft has? Because all these companies are pitching that their cloud streaming service is fantastic and they have the best of the breed, but realistically only one can have the best of the breed. And Amazon certainly has the cloud infrastructure in place. They certainly have the content delivery networks in place. They certainly have the cash flow, much like Google does, to actually ride something like this out for the long term. I think all three of these companies, Facebook you could potentially toss in there too, understands that gaming is a long-tailed, very broad look at the future of content for a different generation. It's also a smart play because we've seen some very large acquisitions in the gaming market, like Bethesda getting snatched up. There's a lot of money in gaming right now, and there's going to continue to be a lot of money. Esports is a perfect example of that. And so that's all these companies. You now have Amazon, you have Microsoft, you have Google, and there's many more all jumping into this arena of cloud streaming. Well, that's not going to replace your console or PC anytime soon. Local gameplay will continue to be the dominant force for the foreseeable future. These cloud streaming services are going to continue to get better. Remember, we're looking at, with Amazon, it's not even day one. With Google, it's been roughly a year, we'll say, about that. And Microsoft, it's still relatively about day one for cloud gaming from an official product perspective. Any way you slice and dice it, more competitive people in this industry is a better thing. Now, this makes it kind of an interesting thought that, like, did Microsoft know this was coming online? Which they should have, because Amazon's been talking about this for a while and they had some private demos and all that stuff. And maybe that's why they snatched up Bethesda, because I can't imagine that Bethesda, now being under Microsoft control, is going to find its games out on Luna. I would be surprised if we see them out on Stadia. Well, Microsoft is very sort of open-armed and like, we want to embrace gamers wherever they are. I do think that they would be much more restrictive in the cloud streaming scenario because that is the most lucrative portion right now for the long future, and they want to keep their service first and foremost. So we will see how this all shakes out, but this is a pretty big, I don't want to say shakeup, but pretty big announcement for the industry as a whole that Amazon is now officially entering into quote unquote console style gaming at home where they did not previously reside. Microsoft and Google clearly have their work cut out for them because Amazon will bankroll a bunch of this. I do think Microsoft's vastly superior offering right now with Game Pass and everything else that's included, but that doesn't mean that Amazon can't catch up, and it doesn't mean that Stadia can't exist either.